Folks, we've got some exciting breaking news. I always wanted to say that. Breaking news. We've got some exciting breaking news. Our parent company, the Western Fishing Network, has just been named the Western representatives for Camus boats. You're going to start to see Camus boats on a lot of Western waters very soon. Let's make this official right now. We'll get those life vests zipped in clips, strap down those rods, and stow away those tackle bags because we are going fishing. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Bass to Anglers podcast. I'm your host, Keith Nicewonger, and I hope this episode finds you with 5 for 25 in your live well. But they better be hooked on the inside of the mouth. There better not be any snag marks on these fish, and they better be alive. There won't be any cheating in this event. Special thanks to our partners who make this podcast possible. Basco Fishing is the official wardrobe partner of the Bass to Anglers podcast. Basco Fishing is making bass fishing fun again. Be sure to check out all the styles and all the latest colors by going to bascofishing.com. Of course, you know we are the Western representatives for Ducket Fishing, pro-driven rods, reels, and baits. Ducket Fishing is coming to the West, and if you haven't seen them yet, you soon will. New independent dealerships are popping up all the time. Check out the Ducket Fishing lineup of pro-driven rods, reels, and baits by going to their website, ducketfishing.com. By now, if you haven't seen Bait Pop, I'm sure you've at least heard about it. A live electronics intensifier combined with the original fish formula that has to be seen to be believed. You can see your fish. Now you can see your bait. Check out their website by going to theoriginalfishformula.com. Folks, we've got some exciting breaking news. I always wanted to say that. Breaking news. We've got some exciting breaking news. Our parent company, the Western Fishing Network, has just been named the Western representatives for Camus boats. You're going to start to see Camus boats on a lot of Western waters very soon. Let's make this official right now. There you go. That took a long time. Kelly Jordon has been on this podcast several times recently, and we've got him again today. Kelly just won the Major League Fishing Tackle Warehouse Invitational event on Lake Eufaula in Oklahoma. We're going to find out how he did it. But first, if you like the content we produce on this channel, please hit the subscribe button. Tell them, Larry.
Get her done.
Like this video. Tell your friends. Tell your neighbors. Tell the people you work with. Share this video. Don't keep it to yourself. We are building our viewership, and your follow means a lot to us. Kelly Jordon has had a Hall of Fame career, 6 major tournament wins, numerous classic qualifications, and overall great accolades. But the winner's circle has eluded him lately. That all changed this past week with his stunning win at Lake Eufaula in Oklahoma. Kelly joins us this evening. Kelly, Welcome back to the Bass Through Anglers podcast. Thanks for being with us.
Hey, thanks, Keith. It was an unbelievable week. It was crazy.
You know, you're a mainstay on the Bass Pro Tour. What made you decide to jump in an invitational?
Well, I actually thought about fishing the whole tour this year, all of the invitationals, I guess. Uh, you know, the more tournaments you fish, the more you kind of get in the groove with fishing. My kids are getting a little bit older. I'm able to, a little bit more freedom to go to hit a bunch more tournaments. I almost pulled the trigger on fishing all of them this year, and just wasn't able to make it happen for this year. I'm hoping maybe I could do that next year. Uh, and just kind of went, man, I sure would love to fish some of those events. We got a text from all the guys about maybe 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, said, hey, there's an opening available. I called around and looked for a place to stay, a room, called a couple of buddies. They said, Fred Rubana said, yeah, I got an extra room. And I called and tried to get that spot. They said, sorry, spot's gone. And I said, well, heck, put me on the waiting list in case another one comes open. And one did. So then I was able to, I got the call at the last minute. It was just a seat of the pants, fly by night kind of deal, and got in there.
It's cool. You know, as a fan of the sport, I personally like it when the field's full of hammers. You know, the more the merrier, I think. And seeing guys like Fred and yourself in these kind of events, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. In a lot of in some of the post event articles I've read, you credited your pre-tournament research. I'd like to hear a little bit more about what that is. Tell us about your pre-tournament research.
Well, so I fished Lake Eufaula a long, long time ago. In the late '90s, actually, I fished an old Everstart, and I fished a Bassmaster Invitational. Maybe a year or two after that, that Gary Yamamoto of all people won that event. Never forget that event. I think the water was 10 feet high and flooded trees, and it was
Wow.
awesome. And the other event was in June, a summertime tournament. I did pretty good on both of those. I did well, didn't win, but I mean, I enjoyed fishing there. I assumed it'd be a great tournament lake, but I didn't know it very well. Haven't been back, haven't fished there. But it's such a huge lake that clearer water is premium, if that makes sense. Because some of that lake is just, I mean, the visibility is less than coffee with half cream in it. I mean,
Milk.
as soon as it and you don't even know how anything lives in there. It's like mud that has water in it.
Hmm.
So the study I did was Google Earth and satellite finishes. I mean pictures and the going back in time, looking at the older photos, trying to find the research, and hopefully you can hit a time when maybe it was during a flood or a drought, and kind of gives you an idea where there might be pockets of clear water somewhere where you wouldn't think to look. Also, just looking for trying to get the character of the lake. And a lot of stuff I look for is just little stuff, little bitty deals off the beaten path, just subtle things that might be missed and that you could take advantage of. And did a lot. I mean, I spent a day and a half pretty much in my office just scouring that and looking for just any kind of deal in case. So I'd be prepared when I got there for any water level. That's why I did that.
Well, you clearly found something special
Yeah.
this past week, and did you see that on Google Earth? Is that what led you to this?
Pretty much. You can't really see it, but you can intuitively know it's there. Because I mean, I do this most season. I mean, most pro that we do this. It's part of our study, part of our homework. Wasn't really visible, but it kind of was if you looked around it. And I kind of expected that there might be something there, and there was. And it wasn't. I wasn't sure it would be there, and I did have to look for a while, but I did find it. And when I did finally see it, it was not really where I expected it to be, but it was just kind of like a wow, look at that. I know. I mean, when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, they're going to be there.
Okay, so tell us, what was it that you found?
I found rocks in a place where no one would ever know there was rocks if they didn't know to look there, and they are not visible in any Google Earth photo that I found because there was never anything with the water low enough to see that, except maybe a little more shadow there, maybe whatever. But there were some surrounding features that led me to believe there might be something in that area. And I just looked. I mean, again, it's a little bit of geography, I guess. And I'm not a geography major or anything like that from college or anything, but you see stuff. There's rock veins continue, different features. Kind of sometimes there'll be a different place of them out there. You can just kind of extrapolate some stuff, and so I just off the wall stuff. And I looked for off the wall stuff because I knew that it might fish really small if the water wasn't high, and it did. There was people everywhere on some of the really good stuff. It was obvious.
Well, I find that fascinating. The whole idea of using the Google Earth. I get the concept of how it's used, but to hear you talk about, what you saw and what you thought was probably there, that's pretty good stuff.
Yeah, it's
I was going to ask you to talk about your
you see
practice.
stuff, and sometimes it just works in your mind and you can see it.
Yeah,
it's hard to describe.
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense. So talk about practice. Was there a point when you thought that this could happen during practice?
I had a fun practice. I had a little bit of a short practice because I had to take my son to the emergency room the first morning of practice at 4:30 in the morning.
Oh.
And he's just fine, everybody. He's just fine. I thought he might have been having appendicitis. He had a stomach virus a couple of days before. He woke up right when I was getting ready to leave my house at about 4:30 in the morning, and had this terrible pain, and it really was scary. It's scary with your kids, and so we took him in. It didn't really bother me that much at all because I'm used to practicing for 2 days, and I kind of had been thinking out loud, what am I going to do with myself with 3 days of practice? I won't even know where to go. I'll be like, man. And so I got about 2.5 days. That lake is so big, I wish I would have had about 4 days, but it worked out just right, and I was able to cover the water I wanted. And basically, what I had at the end of my practice, of the 3 days of practice, is I had some areas in the pattern I really liked. I had 2 or 3 things to build off of. And I had a plan, and I ran all my stuff the first day. So the first day of the tournament was going to be, in my mind, because I was running some different things and I was going to cover it all, I was going to figure out then what was really working on that day. And if you had to, you could almost do that every day. And I really liked my plan, and I liked the stuff that I had, and I had a plan of how to move through it. I had some timing with it as well. And it did not go according to plan because I didn't catch much at all at my first stop. I caught a 7-pound limit, if you can believe that. It was terrible.
That's quite an accomplishment to catch 5 for 7. That's pretty good.
Yes, I was very disappointed in and I had never seen one that small in practice. And I was catching those fish a lot on, mostly in square bill, and it was a lot more off color water than where I ended up catching most of my fish on a Lucky Craft BDS2 square bill. It was awesome. And practice, I'd throw it and I'd get a bite from a 2.5, and then I'd catch like a 4, and I'm like, I'm out of here. And every fish I caught the first morning in the first 2 hours was like 1 pound, 10 ounces and less. I was like, where did y'all come from? That was disappointing, but I kept running my stuff. But at the same time, this stuff that I had found on the lower end in the clear water, I was very confident in it because it was so awesome looking. And I knew I would figure it out better in the tournament. But when I found it, and I waited until there was no one in eyesight, because it's kind of offshore, but it's not. I just played defense really hard. I got out there and made 2 casts with an open hook. I was, going to hook one of them. I didn't catch one my first cast. My second cast, I caught a 4.5 pounder.
Okay,
and that's
so that's not where you ran to at the start of the first day. You went there later.
No, I did not. I did not want to have to go there the first day. That was kind of my plan because I thought I could do pretty good on my other stuff. And again, that was like an ace in a hole if I had it. It was, and it was, the save if you have to. I ended up getting there about 12:30 ish the first day, maybe 1 o'clock, and there were a couple people around in the area fishing. Um, some of them may have been high school people, but I kind of stayed way away and watched it because I had some other stuff close. And as soon as everybody filtered out and there was no one around, I ran over there, and I had fortunately caught a 3 pounder in another area before I got there. But I pulled up, and in about 10 or 15 minutes, I caught 4 fish in cold. Every fish I had that wasn't the 3 pounder, and I quit. I said I have almost 17 pounds, and it was so exciting because I had been struggling all day with little fish, and I catch 4 good fish. 3.5 pound average. Boom, 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 boom. I was very excited, and it felt like a mistake because I think I really could have caught him really well. I mean, a 20-pound stringer probably, because there's those kind of fish there. But I just made a judgment call, and I said, hey, this is the first day, and I haven't fished a tournament like that in a long time when I didn't have score tracker.
Right.
Like years, so I don't know where I am. I know I'm not going to be leading. I don't want to be leading. I want to be close. But I really had also kind of failed to figure out in my mind until after the first day that it's not a 4-day tournament; it's a 3-day tournament. 3-day tournament, you can't coast, you can't ramp up as easy as you can in a 4-day tournament.
Right.
That's exactly what you want to do in a 4-day, because you can catch those guys that bust a couple big bags within falter. It's a lot harder to do in a 3-day tournament. I kind of thought about that after the day was over, and I was like, man, I hope you didn't lose this tournament the first day, because you could have fished 10 more minutes. And sure, no guarantees, but pretty sure I could have caught a couple more fish and got into at least the 18-pound range, maybe even 19. And then, without even catching too many multiple fish, and got out of there and not been seen. So that was the first day.
Do you believe in magic? You want the power, control, and casting distance of a long rod for your deep cranks, A-rigs, and glide baits, but you hate the inconvenience of storing them. Small rod lockers, 8-foot ceilings, and narrow walkways can make a long rod a real disaster. Ducket Fishing has got you covered. The Micro Magic series is unlike any rod series on the market today. Comfort grip, Fuji reel seats, micro guides for better casting, advanced sense-a-touch blanks, and a unique blank-to-blank telescoping feature that will allow your rod to fit anywhere a normal-sized rod can go. All this at a price that won't break your bank. There's no such thing as a magic bait, but there is such thing as a magic fishing rod. Micro Magic by Ducket Fishing, pro-driven. Okay, now day 2. How did that unfold? Did you go straight to those fish on day 2,
No.
or did you save them again?
Yeah, well, so again, I knew this big high school tournament was going to be there. I thought that was the big high school day, and I wanted them. And I ran some of the stuff that I thought was more productive. I didn't even go anywhere near where I started the first day, where I caught the 7-pound limit. I ran the area where I caught the 3-pounder. Well, turns out Michael Neal was fishing in that area, and he did very well too. I think he made a top 10.
Yeah.
And I figured that out the second morning because I ran to my best little shallow flat point in there, and somebody ran right in there on top of it. I'm not sure if it was Michael Neal, but I think it was him. And I was like, oh man. So I ran down a little ways and was just looking for alternate stuff, kind of still practicing, because still know I have this thing that if I need to, I can go over there and catch them. So I did. I practiced. I fished some other similar stuff, just running the pattern in it, and I didn't catch anything in a couple places. I was surprised by that. I circled back around, came back to that place where I plan on starting. Whoever it was, if it was Michael or not, I don't know. But then Michael was about 300 yards down the bank. I pulled in on that spot, and I fished it really, really hard, and I didn't have a bite. So that was disappointing. So then I ran a couple more deals down the lake, and I'm just I'm milk running my way down. I'm still trying to feel my way through this, because I think there's a lot of big fish everywhere. And if you land on the right kind of place, because there's a lot of pre-spawn fish, you're looking for a school, and they could be anywhere. If they're somewhere where you pull up, you can get well really quick. Never hit those. I end up getting down to, my just ace, my hot, area that I found, and I got there about I think I got there about 8:45 or 9 o'clock in the morning, and there were 4 boats in the area. One of them fishing on top of the stuff around there, and I pull on the other side of the creek, and it's good fishing over there. I ended up catching 2 small keepers over there, and I'm just watching and waiting. I figured there were high schoolers fishing, and if they weren't catching them, they would move on, which had kind of happened every day because they didn't really bite very well unless you just were on that kind of offshore juice. And sure enough, everybody 10:30 they all left, all of them. So I went over there and immediately started catching them. I caught 17 pounds, 15 ounces by noon, so an hour and a half. And then the wind turned. That's when our big front came through, and the wind started blowing 30 miles an hour, and I never had another bite. And I ended up coming back in kind of early, and that it seemed like they just shut down when that pressure change hit. But I was still pretty happy with almost 18 pounds. So that was day 2. Still didn't go there straight to them, and I left pretty early. So we were going to see where we were after day 2, and that's how what day went down as well. Didn't start there again. Might have been dumb, but who knows?
So now day 2, I watched quite a bit of the broadcast on Major League Fishing Channel, and it was funny because Marty Stone, nobody could see Kelly Jordon catching fish because you didn't have a camera in your boat. Marty Stone said, his voice. I bet you Kelly's found himself some sight fish. I think that's what he's probably doing. If I know Kelly Jordon, he's sight fishing, and so I know Kelly Jordon too. He probably is sight fishing. So when we saw you on day 3 with a camera in your boat, throwing reaction baits, I'm like, whoa, this is not what Marty Stone made me think.
And that's exactly why you do what I did. And I mentioned it during the day fishing on the 3rd day. I said, man, I played a lot of defense in this tournament, but you can't win playing defense. You got to play offense. And I was questioning the way I had managed the fish I had because I was so excited about what I had found because it was so good. There was at least 2 schools in this area of big fish, and but the bottom line was I could not wait for the 3rd day to get there because I wasn't going to be dumb anymore. I was going to run straight there, and I'm going to sit there all day, and we're going to see what happens.
Yeah. 22 pounds. Were you a little concerned when the wind was blowing hard on that last day?
Yes. So the last day, Marty Stone had actually called me the night he interviews usually everybody in the top 5 or 10 to kind of get ideas so he knows what to talk about. I told him about my disappointment and my strategy the first day, and how I probably screwed up only catching 16 pounds 11 ounces the first day, and then I didn't go straight to him the second day as well. But I thought that was the high school tournament day. Turns out the high school tournament day was Sunday, final day. I did not know that until the night before the tournament. I'm like, oh man, this is another new dynamic. I don't know what's going to be, what's going to happen. But regardless, I knew exactly where I was going, exactly where I was going to, hang my hat, and we were going to see what happens. And a big part of that was, and this might have been a thing that helped me win as well, is I had a 6-pound deficit. I knew I had to catch big ones, and that's all that mattered.
Yeah.
Only chance I had was to catch big ones, and there's only one place I knew that had them for sure, and that was that one area. And it's a big area. It's 300-400 yards across with some really good rock piles and rock veins, some shallow water, some a little bit deeper water, a couple pockets. It's got it all, and it's all right in one area. So
5-pounder early in that last day probably helped a little bit, huh?
It sure did. So you were talking about the wind. So matter of fact, I get to where I'm fishing. This is a really cool story. I get there, I run straight there. I have a Bass Cat Cougar with a 250 horsepower Mercury on the back. We were boat number 4. I told my cameraman, I said, we're going to be in the boat number 1 here pretty quick. And when I turned the corner in the Dutchess Creek off the main lake, and that's down by the dam, I told him to look back, and I was checking too. It probably took 30 seconds at least for the next boat to come around the corner. So we had them, and we flew down the lake. We got there. So I got first shot at everything. if any other competitor was going to go anywhere near that I didn't know about or anything like that. I run through there and I get to my little area, and lo and behold, there is a tournament, a high school team sitting dead on the juice of the whole deal, dead on top of it. And so I idle in. They're not fishing. I guess they must have had a lines in time. So we took off at 7 o'clock. This is maybe 7:25 now, probably 25-minute run. I pulled up and I said, "Hey guys, man, do you guys mind if I fish here?" And they go, "Man, are you doing good?" I go, "Yeah, I'm in fourth place. I actually have an outside shot chance to win, and this is where I'm pretty much catching all my fish." And the boat captain said, "Man, I was watching the live all day yesterday to see if anybody was fishing here, so I wouldn't be getting on top of anybody's stuff, and I didn't see anybody fishing here on the live."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, yeah, that's because they told me they were going to send a camera to me, but we had 30-mile winds, so they weren't going to do that because it was too hard to get to." And he was like, Man, I'll tell you what, I'm just going to let you have it because, man, we know you do this for a living." I said, "Are you sure?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "It's big enough." He said, "No, I'm just going to get on out of here. I may come back later in the day, but are you going to be here all day?" I said, "Yeah, probably not going to leave this area." He said, "No, we're just going to go ahead and let you have it. If that was us, we would appreciate somebody that did that for us." And I said, "Man, I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. I mean, just gracious as all get out, and they're easing off, and I just I just that happens a lot. Don't get me wrong, but I
Yeah.
mean, it was just so great. And I'm looking at these kids who were me when I was in high school, just couldn't wait to fish, and I'm just kind of wondering how they feel. Um, and I said, "Hey guys, man, you guys' sportsmanship is so awesome. Why don't you look me up, man? Can I send you a couple ducket rods just for sportsmanship and just because you guys are so great and your sportsmanship is unbelievable. You just without even question, you just took off and got off of the area and said you can have this." I said, you can't buy, barter, or trade a spot. You can't say, hey, whatever.
Right.
But I just looking at these kids that were me, and I said, "Hey, can I send you this a ducket fishing rod, each one of you kids?" And the boat captain, Chris, said, "Yes, absolutely." I said, "Well, I would be more than happy to do that. And I hope you guys have a great day. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate your consideration for letting me have this area all to myself." And it was great. I talked to Chris the next day when I was driving home. It was a great deal. And I have some rods around those kids now. And I mean, that's the way my day worked out. All day was just
Yeah.
like that. Everything that day happened like that. It was tough fishing. I watched the live again today. I know for a fact, pretty much, I was the only guy fishing in horrendous winds. Pretty much, I looked at everybody else. It looks like it's not even windy, really. Kind of. I have rollers coming right into my shallow points. Rock on them. I mean, it's just I can't even hold my troll motors dead. I didn't wear a hat because it would have blown off my head. I had to
I
wear
know,
a
Kelly.
shotgun hat.
Kelly, I was thinking about that tournament last year. You had those shallow fish, and the wind blew the water out
It
of
blew
the
the
area.
water out. I'm like,
Yeah,
this is happening again. And
I
and
was
it,
thinking
and it
about that.
yeah, it muddied the water up. It was mud, and I kept thinking, man, is this going to kill it? But there was shad there. I actually caught 2 shad that morning on my vibrating jig. I mean, they got hooked on the big hook, and they were,
Wow.
3 inches, the same size as my vibrating jig. And I'm like, I know they got to be here, and they were. And I caught just what I needed. That was the most amazing thing. I'm like, why am I not getting bit? Why not getting bit? 30 minutes into the day, why am I not getting bit? There's shad up here everywhere. Finally, I get a bite. Guess what? It's a 5 pound. That's what you need to come back from
Yep.
6 pounds down. I'm like, hey, there's one,
Absolutely.
4 to go. A little while
Absolutely.
later, I
Hey,
caught a 4 pounder.
well, you've done it. You went out and invested in a forward-facing sonar unit so you can finally see what you've only been able to imagine in the past. You can see the fish swimming around down there. Now it's time to see your bait. Introducing Bait Pop, a forward-facing sonar intensifier. Simply rub some Bait Pop on your lure and watch that signal pop on your live electronic screen. Interested? Bait Pop contains the original fish formula and sparkle scales, so it doesn't just intensify your sonar signal, it masks your scent. It gives your bait a taste and creates a visual of scales being knocked off helpless bait fish.
Like, again, a forward-facing sonar guy, that's if I can have that advantage, to see an extra 10, 20 feet past 120 foot or whatever. Now, if I can see 140, that could be a game changer.
Look for the Bait Pop display at your favorite tackle shop or go to their website, theoriginalfishformula.com. Kelly, talk about the rod you use to throw that vibrating jig. I've got some vibrating jig questions I want to ask you now. So what rod do you use and what reel and what speed on the reel?
Yeah, I'm using a Duckett Paradigm reel, 7.5 to 1 ratio. I'm using my signature series 7-foot medium heavy action Pro Series rod.
I got one of those right here on this rack.
Yeah. So the main reason behind that rod is I designed it. It's a utility rod. It's all around. It does it all. It's got, from a Texas rig to pitching with a not too heavy of a pitching bait up to maybe a half ounce or so, a square bill spinner bait. Maybe a bigger topwater, soft plastic jerk bait, Cinco type bait, you name it. It kind of is all around, and I like those kind of rods because it's very capable of doing a whole bunch of different techniques. But what doesn't change is the rod. So you're very comfortable picking it up, and it's just kind of like it keeps that part of your whole presentation the same, and it has a real nice soft tip, which is pretty important with a vibrating jig on how you set the hook. You really want the fish to take it almost like a crankbait, but then once they get it, you want to be able to set the hook into them, and that rod has it all. The 7.5 high-speed reel, couple things. I don't have any problem slowing down. It's not hard for me to slow down slow enough where I can slow roll it just right and bounce the bottom, which is what I was doing. But if a fish does, hit it on a run and slackline you, come at you fast, you can catch up to them. Or if you see a fish blow up or something, you can reel in really fast and get to them quick. And that's very important as well.
Yeah, that 7.5 speed is pretty versatile, like you said. That's
it is
pretty good versatile reel speed. So the half ounce vibrating jig. Now, the vibrating jigs I throw are usually in that 3/8 ounce size. So I'm intrigued by the half ounce size. I feel like that's going to sink too fast. Do you burn those things, or how are you fishing that?
No, I'm bouncing on the bottom.
So you want it down the bottom.
I was hitting rocks. The one that I had, there's no paint left on the head. Now I got hung up a lot of times in the rocks, and sometimes I had to go get it off. But that's what you wanted, was to be popping off those rocks. Yep. So you got to kind of think square bill,
just like a square bill.
Yeah, and if you get the rocks real hard, you just pick your rod tip up maybe a little bit faster, but that generates a lot of strikes as well. It's the same thing, keeping contact. So I was slow rolling on the bottom. And so because I was doing that, I used 17-pound line. A lot of the time I used 20-pound line some of the last day because the water was so off color. You wanted to have, strong enough line, because I was catching some really good fish, 4 and 5 pounders, around some really gnarly cover. Those rocks, these were not smooth riverstone rocks. These were like fractured cliff rock, with sharp edges.
Chunk, yeah.
Not the kind of rocks you want to run your boat up on. So it's pretty gnarly stuff.
So I saw them hand you an invitation to Red Crest. That's got to take some pressure off, huh?
Man, didn't even think about that. And then until they handed me that, I'm like, my goodness, this is awesome. Birmingham, Alabama, baby.
Yeah.
2024. Can't wait.
Yeah. We just talked at Red Crest a couple of weeks ago about how you said, I wish I was out there. Well, you will be. You will be now. That's awesome. That's awesome.
What a blessing that was. That's just so good. And they kept handing me a a cardboard deal with the check.
Yeah.
And they hand me the cardboard deal with the Red Crest qualification. Excuse me. I've been in a baseball game this season.
Yep.
For the little leaguers play, but yelling out there. How awesome is that? It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Absolutely. So your last major win was 2014 at a Major League Fishing Challenge Cup on Ray Roberts. Does that thing kind of weigh on your mind a little bit? It's like, hey, it's been a while since I won. I kind of wondered what your thoughts were on that.
Yes.
Kind of wondering, is it going to happen again sometime?
I absolutely hope so. I plan on winning every tournament I fish, as does everyone else. And I certainly plan on winning my next event, whether that's Gunnersville, the Bass Pro Tour, or if I get it on off the waiting list again to fish the next Invitational on Lake of the Ozarks, which I'm have my fingers crossed. Everybody out there is going to, try to win every event. That's why we're there.
Yep.
But this definitely was a huge momentum boost. I've had a tough year, and I was pretty mad at him, and that's why I was really excited about getting into this tournament because, man, I've had some tough breaks that just I don't even understand some of the breaks that I had that happened to me. I'm just like, are you kidding me? But when stuff like that happens, you just need to bear down and try harder and keep it rolling and just get her done.
Get her done.
I mean, that's what we do. That's what competitors do. You get up and you try to make it happen again.
Yep.
And that's why I was so thankful I got in that event. And then you go win a tournament, and it was the most fun practice I've had, the most fun tournament I've had in a long time that I can remember. And to come out on top, especially with that deficit, was just unbelievable. Dream come true, not expected. But fish pure. I didn't lose a fish all week. It was just, I'll never forget this event that we just had.
Basco Fishing Apparel now has built-in SPF 50 technology to not only keep you cool and dry, but to also help your skin stay safe from the elements while you're out there on the water. All that in colors and styles that are sure to up your game. Check out the new colors and styles by going to their website, bascofishing.com, and make bass fishing fun again. I want to shift gears real fast. Kelly, you have had, as long as I've known you, you have had the Lucky Craft logo on your jersey and on your boat. And I'm thinking your relationship with Lucky Craft, that might be one of the longest sponsorship deals one of the longest that people have in the sport. How long have you been with them?
2001.
That's a long time.
So
what keeps that working?
Great products, great company, great ownerships, great relationship, great team. I mean, look at the primary teammates I have is Brent Ayler, Skeet Reese, Takahiro Mori.
Yeah,
that's just the Bass Pro Tour. And we talk, and we all know who our team is too, and man, that's just I love the mission of the company to create just some of the finest baits that can be made. If you're not familiar with Lucky Craft, from the get-go, always made the most premium baits on the market. That was the whole deal when they started. Everyone knew Lucky. I mean, the most pioneering suspending jerk baits ever made, were the Lucky Craft pointers, starting it out in the 78 and the 100, and then on from there. Premium components, super materials, always, fine tuning everything. And I have the utmost confidence in all of my Lucky Craft baits. I mean, for instance, the the square bills, those have got to be the best selling square bills of all time. They kind of brought it back to the forefront, even though that's been around for a long time, from like the Big O days and the Balls of Bees. When the 1.5s came out, that was the deal. Still throw those. We have all kind of variations of those in between. The color schemes were always, and still are, about the most premium color schemes you can find on the market. And the most awesome thing to me about Lucky Craft is those are the baits that I throw in tournaments.
Yep.
And I have the utmost confidence in all of them. For instance, the best deep diving crankbait in the entire world, and that'll run to 18 to maybe 20 feet deep on a cast, not these super deep divers that everybody has now. Back before, when we were just praying we could hit 20 feet on a long cast, or 18, is the D20. And I helped design that with Minoru Sagawa from Lucky Craft. He brought me a bunch of I'll never forget this. He brought me a bunch of prototypes of Lake Fork. I used to always catch a lot of big bass on a Norman DD22.
Right.
That was the standard. I mean, the big fish deep diving crankbait of the time. This is a long time ago. I said, I want a crankbait that will be a DD22. That's what I want. Don't know how we'll do that, but let's try. I'll never forget. He pulled up and he's got. We're on Lake Fork in June when they're just biting like crazy, and this is a long time ago. This is in the long time ago.
Yeah.
Uh, and early 2000s, I guess. I don't know the exact time, but uh, he had, I think, 5 different ones. And I had found a school of big bass on a road bed on Lake Fork. Typical Lake Fork summertime deal, crank a road bed. And the funny thing was, none of them had paint; they were all clear plastic. He wanted me to see how they feel, how they felt, and what I thought about the action and whatever. I don't really care how they feel. I care what the bass like. Okay. So I said, well, hey, let's go throw them on the school of bass that I know is right here. So I threw it a DD22, caught one about every 3rd cast. Okay. So I get the first prototype he gives me. I don't catch a fish in 10 casts. Put the next one on. I catch one on like the 3rd cast and one on about the 8th cast. I did it on 10 cast increments and trying to be scientific about it, I guess. And then I put another one on and I caught like 1 in 10 casts. Put another one on, I caught 3 in 10 casts. I thought, man, that one's pretty good. Then I threw another one and I caught maybe 2 in 10 casts. And then I put on another one and I caught one every cast.
Wow.
And I said, that one.
So that's how you decided on the 20-foot diver.
Yeah. So we got the D20. And let me tell you, I have caught so many big fish on that bait and won a couple tournaments. I'll never forget when we first came out with that bait. Like it wasn't even out for very long. There was a tournament on Kentucky Lake. I think it was an FLW Tour event, and it was won by none other than Anthony Gagliardi, and he won it on the Lucky Crab D20 deep diving crankbait. Never forget that.
Wow,
that was right out of the box.
That's a pretty famous crankbait. I mean, it's I like to throw crankbaits, and that's probably one of the top 5 all time in terms of popularity and.
Well, I mean, it should be if it's not, because I can put it next to any other deep diving crankbait of that specification, and on Lake Fork I can go and it will blow the doors off of all the rest of them. I mean, it's just they eat it.
Okay, well, let's talk about a fishing rod then. Okay, that's a deep diving crankbait. It takes a huge toll on a person. What rod do you throw that bait on?
The longest big cranking rod I could throw it on, that's about a medium heavy, because that's a heavy bait.
Yeah.
And
you got a model? You got a model that you throw it on?
Well, now, I mean, the new Pro Series, Boyd Duckett's new signature series, it's a 7-foot 11-inch cranking rod. Actually, I think it's 8 feet.
Right at 8 feet. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 8 feet.
I think his Black Ice model is at 8 feet, and the Pro Series is 7'11".
Yeah, so it's got a telescopic handle, old school. So you can maybe get it in a shorter rod box, what have you. That is the most well-balanced crankbait rod I've ever thrown in my life. And he got that one right. I was amazed the first time I threw it. I've been throwing all of our different ones. They're all great. This one just, I don't know. It's just whatever the harmonics are. I don't know all that stuff. You have to ask somebody that knows. It's not me. But for me, I can throw that crankbait, and as far as any I've ever been able to throw it with, that rod. And of course with crankbaits, distance is king. That's a lot of the main reason you have those big long rods is so you can throw it a mile. It helps on the parabolic action, the treble hooks and getting that soft hook set and keeping pressure. But the main thing is having that softness, but still being able to cast a mile. Yep. And with that rod, I can cast a mile, because casting length equals depth.
Yep.
Until you get in these new ones that all dive 100 feet on one cast, which is just crazy. But most of them are as big as a small bass. So there you go.
Right. Well, Kelly, it's good to talk to you. You are one of the guys that came on my internet radio show back in the day when we called these things internet radio shows.
I think I was about 15 years old back then, Keith.
Yeah, I know. Me too. No, me too. But we talked about a Santee Cooper win that you had, and it's good to get you back in the winner's circle.
Well, thank you, and I tell you what, it's awesome to be here and win another tournament. every win you have is so special.
Yep.
You're very thankful for every single one of them. You don't know if you're ever going to have one again on a national level because the competition is so stiff. To get one is just it's a dream come true, and I will cherish this one forever. It was an awesome win against incredibly stiff competition, and I had such a blast doing it, and it's such a blessing to be able to win that event. So I'm on cloud nine right now. What can I say?
Yep, absolutely. Really quickly here, we've got an extra 40 minutes, so
We'll keep rolling as long as you want. You can cut and paste all kind of stuff. I got all your time you need.
You bet. The invitational level and the BASS Open qualifier now, EQ series, these anglers are absolutely ravenous about what they want to get to, and the competition is crazy. Yeah.
And there's so many of it. Anytime they hit their stride, and especially with all the active target forward facing sonars that we have now, you get some of these kids that I'll never be as good as they are, and they're 20 years old. I mean, I could just study it for the rest of my life. They have that. They just because the age and the way they're dialed in.
Yeah.
You're competing against that. You have like no chance head to head with them doing that. You might tie them, but I don't know if you're going to beat, especially if there's 20 of them that are that good at it in a room. You're over here. But yes, and you look across and just the skill set and the skill level of so many anglers nowadays, because there's a lot of programs like yours, Keith, that just teach anglers how to catch fish, why you would make certain decisions. There's YouTube videos on how to do this, that, and the other, which I didn't have growing up. The learning curve is so much accelerated.
Yeah.
And then there's so much true talent because these anglers have every bit as much a passion about the sport as I did, and that's what it takes to excel. So that it's not only scary competing against them, it's also awesome to see for me.
Yeah,
there's so many great anglers that are enjoying what they do, and I love the game of our sport. It's awesome to see somebody do something amazing or catch them or win a tournament or have one of those days and catch a huge limit of fish or whatever. And it's fun to see. So this Drew Gill kid that finished second, never met him before, but talking to him in line, he was standing next to me, didn't know much about him. And then when he kind of walked up, they said, hey, he's 20 years old. He's still in college. He has classes running. I'm just like, floored. I'm like, are you kidding me? The maturity of these young anglers, the skill of them, the poise that they have, the professional demeanor that they have about them. It's just so impressive. And to see that, I look back to when I was that age, and I'm just like, this is awesome, because I was that same kid that had that dream and doing that. And here's this guy, he's doing it. Yep. And from what I saw, he's probably got a pretty good career ahead of him if he sticks to it. It was just, I love seeing that. And all these young kids, I got to stand in line with Laker Howell, Randy's son.
Yes.
Talk to him. And he's a big old kid now. He's a big boy.
Yes.
I think he's like 6'4" or something, and obviously an awesome fisherman. He's very competitive in those. Cal Lane, Chris Lane's son.
Yeah.
Marty the Potty Robinson's there, and his son Marshall. Got to talk to him. I mean, there's all these father-son deals that I know their dads and fished against them. And seeing that whole deal, it was fishing that invitational event, and it's the old FLW tour, and I used to compete in those. I saw all these young guys coming up that I have never been able to compete against before. And then a lot of the anglers who are friends of mine that I haven't seen for years. It was just awesome seeing those guys. It was almost like I got to see Terry Bolton, hadn't seen him forever.
Right.
Saw Jim, Jeff Reynolds, who top 5. I've known him forever as well, because we competed against each other in team tournament days, for crying out loud. Sean Goodwin. There was a bunch of them there. I mean, the list goes on, and I don't mean to leave anybody out, but it was just great seeing everybody, and a fun event. That lake is Eufaula, Oklahoma, is a great tournament lake because it's very straightforward and big. So there's a lot of room, but it can fish really small. when the water's not in the bushes. But that being said, if you can get a pattern and dial it in, it has got them, man. It's got the fish, and it pays you off if you figure out what's going on. And you saw that happen this week.
Absolutely. Kelly, great to catch up with you. Congratulations on a good win, and thanks for your time this evening. We'll talk to you again soon.
Hey, thank you, Keith, and always a pleasure to be on your show. And like I said, still on cloud nine. It was a great week.
Yep. Good stuff. Talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you.
Greatness is greatness. It doesn't go away. It's always there waiting for its chance to be unleashed. Kelly Jordon reminded us this past week that he knows a thing or two about winning bass tournaments. I hope you listened carefully. His tournament was won in his preparation before the event even started. Sure, he had to catch the fish and make the adjustments during the course of the event, but Jordon found the fish that anybody could have found, but anybody didn't find them. Kelly did. Well, folks, that's going to do it for this episode of the Bass to Anglers podcast. As always, thanks for stopping by. Remember to please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already done so. Like the video. Tell your friends. Until next time, keep both hands on the wheel. Keep those live fish zipped and clipped. Be safe out there, and we'll talk to you again very soon.